to Mr. UFC Vegas Fight Club TV. I am Kyle, your slightly hungover host. Welcome to the podcast. And boy, oh boy, we had a nice night last night. Gonna go over UFC 222, Cyborg versus Kunitskaya, and we're gonna go over some of the other plays that we had and kind of go over it as a whole as well. Also, you can see we're doing some arranging here. We're doing some changing around here on the set. Got some new things here. Want to spice it up a little bit, and let me know what you guys think on that as well. But let's get right into the first play that we had, which was actually we'll go over the best bet. Best bet pick was Katlyn Vieira against Kat Zingano. I got a lot of pushback when I started talking about this fight, and really felt good about Katlyn in this fight. Got it at -150. It was a nice price on her at the time. As you can see, a lot of money ended up going on her come fight night. Come fight, she was at, I think, about -225. So the price tag had gone up on her. Actually, somebody in the comment section asked me about that as well, and said, "Hey, is it still worth the 225 that you're laying here on this fight?" But the price tag went up, but she's the same fighter. So to me, still worth betting at that time. Did talk to him this morning. He ended up placing that bet and getting that win. So that puts us, we put 2.5 units on that. So now for best bet pick, we're 15-5 overall. We're plus 14.35 units this year on our best bet pick. Those of you who have been following me on Reddit also know that as well. So we're doing all right on those. And in that fight overall, Katlyn looked great. I still think she looked great. Striking and with Zingano, they definitely were similar, but two big takedowns for Vieira got us that victory. She was able to really pull that through. It was very close. I gotta say, a little more close, but she just looked great on the ground. She was able to take Kat to the ground, work the ground and pound. She really had a lot of time on top and was able to really put that fight away for us. I felt great going into that third round. Little surprised that it ended up being a split, if I'm correct. Again, I'm a little hungover, so I apologize. But yeah, it was a split decision. I don't know how you really give Kat 2 rounds out of that. I really don't know how. I didn't see it, but again, it didn't matter. We got paid, ended up getting the victory on that, so we cashed in on that one, on our best bet pick. Now we're going to look to the other 3 that we put money on. My buddy, Brian Ortega ended up coming through for us, got us the victory. That fight, you know, I went half unit on that at plus 150. Looked at it, I was a little worried, and obviously Frankie is just an all-star. He's a vet, he's a champion, a past champion. Still surprised that he ended up taking this fight. I thought it was a little tough for him to actually take that fight, knowing that Max Holloway is waiting in the wings for him to end up getting that title fight. So little surprised he took it. Brian Ortega showed a lot. He was rangy with his punches, was able to keep outside. Obviously, you know, Edgar was looking to keep the fight standing more and be able to outstrike him. It ended up going the other way. Brian Ortega did it for us, throwing a solid elbow, and he ended up, and even, you know, he had said after the fight that he saw that the way he was coming in and the aggressive style that Edgar was having, he knew he'd be able to put the elbow up at the right time, and he put it perfectly and ended up throwing the uppercut to end the fight. Got that first round knockout, cashed in on Brian Ortega at half a unit at plus 150. And then we've got Sean O'Malley. Tough fight there. O'Malley looked great. The first 2 rounds, I thought he looked great. He's got great striking. Another guy really rangy with his strikes, was able to really work himself with the spin kicks like we were talking about prior to the fight. A lot of spin kicks, a lot of movement with his striking. Big combinations. He is very talented. He's 23 or 24. I think he's 23. Youngest guy on the card last night. He is going to, I think if he continues to develop and if he continues to evolve as a fighter, I don't see that there's no reason that he can continue to move. There's definitely no reason that he won't continue to move up into the rankings in UFC. Dana White talked about him. He loves this kid. He sees the talent. Obviously, coming from his show, that helps why he's pushing this a little bit, but he was able to really do a great job for Dana, for the UFC, for his career. I believe now he's 10-0. Will be interesting to see where they place him. I believe they will probably have another striker go against O'Malley, so O'Malley doesn't have to worry about the takedowns. I think if they put in a guy that's able to wrestle him to the ground, I see that it's going to be a more of a weakness for O'Malley, but I just think overall, if they can get another striking match for him, it's going to be a great spot to put money on, depending on where the money heads here. The injury was interesting, and then what Sukumtat ended up doing, very interesting there, where there's an opportunity for him once he had hurt his ankle, and I believe they were just saying it sounds like it's a small fracture, won't be out for too long, but it's very interesting that he's hurt. His leg cannot stand. Sukumtat cannot stand, and I'm actually watching this fight and saying, well, if Sukumtat just gets off him and forces him to O'Malley to walk, I don't think he's going to be able to move forward or stay on his feet, and they could actually call the fight. So going into the third round, I felt we were pretty good. I felt very strong with where this fight was headed. But once that happened, I said this fight could end and could go the reverse side, but ended up working out for us. We put 1 unit on O'Malley at plus 140, got that victory as well. Just really excited to see kind of where that goes for O'Malley in his career. The one we lost was Pedro Munoz in a split decision. Very weird fight for me. It was actually frustrating to watch that fight because a lot of it, what I liked about him was his kicks. Definitely something that he has. Again, I told you, American top team. They're very big on the leg kicks, body kicks. That's just entering combinations that way. Something was up with his hand. He did not throw, which I should look into. I'm wondering if that's going to be the case. He didn't throw at all his lead straight. He just wasn't doing it. Threw an absurd amount of kicks, but he just never really pressured Dodson. He stayed to the distance that Dodson likes. Just enough, and Dodson is fast. I mean, he has got a lot. His hands are quick. So he kind of gave Dodson exactly the space that Dodson wanted. And Dodson was able to pick him apart, and Munoz much slower, but I thought he would be able to wrestle him, get in tight, make it sloppy, and ended up getting the victory. Split decision. We were one judge away from going 4-0 last night. We picked 3 underdogs out of our 4 picks, so we're not picking Cyborg here, or we're not picking any of these high ones. I try to give picks that are going to be that there's value in. We're not looking at someone who's going to be, minus 300 and say, hey, great, we got that win. We're looking for underdogs. We're looking for spots to have value and also to wrap in a parlay. So I was able to also hit a 3-game parlay there. Did the 4-game also, which obviously didn't work out with Munoz. Hit them each separately, so it was a real lucrative night for us here, and we're going to keep moving forward with our bets. We're going to get more into it, but we went 3-1 last night. Very happy having 3 underdogs, in the picks, but ended up going 3-1 out of that group. So I also just wanted to go over real quickly Mackenzie Dern. Now, this fight to me, it was a stay away. Her odds ended up going off at minus 450. Thought that's way high. Didn't think that she wasn't proven yet. But watching this fight, I thought she did not look good at all. Her striking was very sloppy. She was not throwing combinations. She would enter with her head down, throwing wildly. I didn't see any striking ability at all. And for a girl that's so hyped within the UFC and being backed so much by the UFC, I did not see any reason that she would be so hyped. Obviously, she's got huge jiu-jitsu. She's a champion, huge jiu-jitsu background, multi-champion. I understand that. But if they put her up against somebody to the next level, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And way I feel about it is that depending who Dern fights, she's again going to have a lot of push. Don't know if they're going to try to tailor make a pick for a fighter for her that she's going to be able to fight and take advantage of. But it will be interesting to see who she fights next, because if she steps up, because let me tell you something, Ashley Yoder is not that good at all. I mean, she's 5-3, now she's 5-4. They put her up against someone who they thought would really display Dern's ability, would probably go in there, get the takedown, maybe choke her out. She was struggling choking her out. Actually, Yoder dropped her once in the second round. I mean, it just was very interesting to see that somebody of her caliber and the way she did not dominate. I mean, even when she had her back, it wasn't really to the point of once she had her back, I said, all right, let's see what she can do. And she didn't really show me much. So I feel like this may be a spot where if she moves up next in talent pool, depending who the UFC wants her to face, that could be a nice spot to find an underdog that will take Dern. I actually like that. Obviously, depending who she's fighting, and I'm just pulling this out of thin air because we don't know who she's going to fight, but I think it's something to look at and leverage for next time, because I just don't see the talent right now. Of course, she can elevate, but very interesting, a razor thin decision for her. It was a split decision for Dern. I mean, that was not the display that the UFC wanted to see. The other fight I want to talk about is CB Dalloway versus Hector Lombard. In that fight, very, very odd scenario there. I don't know how you guys felt. Let me know in the comment section how you guys felt. But I thought that was completely late, the combo. I mean, I felt actually that the leg kick was kind of where the bell went off, where the round had ended. And then he went back and threw a combination that landed flush. And for Hector, even after the fight, you hear him saying, hey, he's why is Dalloway being a baby? Or he was kind of mocking him that he didn't want to fight. I mean, that is not fair at all for him to even go that route and say, oh, I think it's dirty. I think it was intentional. The way that he threw that, it just seemed he didn't even seem apologetic when he dropped him. He just turned around. It was just very weird, Hector's reaction to all of this. I actually am a fan of Lombard, even back in his days with the other leagues that he's been in. So I've followed his career, but it's just odd the way that all ended. I did not have money on this fight, but again, very weird. CB gets the win, but I thought it was a completely dirty, late after the bell combination that a guy of his caliber, who I think he's got 35 fights, he knows that that's late. I mean, this isn't anything we're telling that he doesn't know. He knows that was late. And we'll go back to the main ones there. We got Arlovsky versus Struve. This fight I obviously stayed away from as well, as we talked about. I mean, both of them are known names, but haven't really done much within the division. Arlovsky gets back on track now. Now he's 2-5 in his last 7. So it'll be interesting to see who he fights. He's another one there that I can see you can take advantage of. If he fights another strong prospect, or if he starts to move up, I don't see anywhere where Arlovsky's going to go. He's a great name, a legend in the sport. Just going the other way, don't really see much there. And then we'll finish off this podcast with the headliner. Kunitskaya was just well overmatched, as we talked about. She looked, even when I thought it was actually fun. If you guys go back and look, Cyborg was laughing. She had a big smile on her face when Kunitskaya had her back standing. And it just shows where she's like, is this a joke? Like, come on. She could end the fight at any point. She did. She did it, obviously, in great fashion, winning in the first round, a TKO victory. Obviously, like we said, there was no real value there to take Kunitskaya in this fight. So we'll see what happens. Sounds like the UFC is going to, Dana White, in multiple media sources, has come out and said he wants to see Cyborg and Nunes fight. I have a lot of opinions on that, and where I feel that there could be a great spot and bet there. Really interested to see that fight, and hopefully that all happens. And it sounds like they're even talking about that as in fight week in Vegas. They're maybe thinking of working that this summer, on the heels of a Cormier and Miocic super fight as well. So we'll see what happens. There you have it. Had a nice night last night. 3-1 on the picks. Had some underdogs come in for us. Again, overall best bet picks. And just best bet picks is what I'm giving you guys, is we're 15-5 overall this year, plus 14.35 units on best bet picks. Best bet was Vieira. We hit O'Malley, and we hit Ortega. So had a good night, and again, we'll keep pumping you guys out videos here. Keep giving you some more information on upcoming news, gambling, handicaps. We're gonna all get into it here at Mr. UFC Vegas Fight Club TV. Take care.